Robert Kiyosaki is an author of more than 25 books, best known for his Rich Dad, Poor Dad series, which have sold over 41 million copies worldwide. He went from being a school dropout, helicopter pilot in the Vietnam War, and failed businessman to becoming a multi-millionaire investor and best-selling author. And today we're going to learn his best advice on how to cooperate with others. Rise and shine, it's Entspresso time!
I wake up every morning.
Espresso keep me going.
I wake up every morning.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and every morning I bring you a shot of Entspresso to help you believe in yourself and start your day with confidence. So good morning, I believe in you, and let's do this. Over to you, Robert Kiyosaki.
The biggest thing for most young people is that our schools teach us to be ICs, independent contractors.
Okay.
Or self-employed, or even if you're an employee, you're still an independent contractor who has a job. And you do it by yourself. I think much of the young world is in the selfie world. Look at me, look at me,
Yeah.
look at me. Whereas in my world, it's a team sport. I'm a rugby player. I go on the field with a team, toughest, meanest guys I know. And so you could be the A student from Princeton, but I go on the field with 15 tough men, kick your ass. And so the average guy is coming out there, like, oh, I got an A, I went to Princeton, I went to Harvard, and the corporate America comes out and they go, boom. So that's why when I talk to young people, I say, look, it's a team sport. So the first person I have is a bookkeeper. Bookkeeper is the lowest paid person on my team, but the most important.
Right.
The bookkeeper then keeps the accurate records that my accountant can use, and my attorney can use, and my banker can use. That's the combination there. And my banker, my attorney, and my accountant must work together as a team. Most people, their bankers, accountants, and attorneys don't work together as teams. Because in school, we're taught to take our tests on our own. If you ask for help, you're cheating. In my world, it's called cooperation. And what I found with most smart people, they don't know how to cooperate. They don't know how to ask for help. Because in their brains, that's cheating. It means you're stupid. It means you're weak.
I've always had a hard time asking people for help, but it's not because I feel like I'm stupid. It's more because I feel like I'm imposing. My greatest fear is I don't want to disappoint people. I don't want to feel like I'm imposing, I'm disappointing you, I'm going to show up and not deliver value. It's my number one fear. It's served me in a lot of great ways, and I always try to over-deliver. I always try to provide way more value than what people signed up for, but it's still this big fear in the back of my head, and I think I will generally internalize a lot of things instead of asking people for help. I had a really transformative experience when I went to Puerto Rico earlier this year with Brendan Burchard, and I spoke at his event. He has his private mastermind and $30,000 to $50,000 to be part of it. And he asked me to join. And, in my head was, I hope I can bring value. I hope they don't, think, who's this guy who Brendan brought up? We're spending all this money to be part of this group. But I did my thing, and I got over that fear. And that's every time I kind of go on stage. And then I spent the next 3 days at the event hanging out and answering questions of people in the lobby. That's really why I love going, is the speech becomes the permission for people to recognize you and stop you and ask you questions in the lobby. And so I spent hours every day just in the lobby talking to people, helping entrepreneurs. I could have gone home. Most speakers fly in, fly out. My favorite part is speaking early and then being there for the whole seminar, the whole workshop, the whole event, multiple days, just answering questions with people. That's the highlight for me. And so on the last day when we finished up, Brendan took his crew and invited me to a fancy restaurant, and at that dinner thanked me in front of everybody for not just a speech, but for sticking around and then staying and answering the questions for everybody. And he invited me to join him in his private mastermind afterwards, him for himself and his friends. And the first day of that event, which was, 3 or 4 days later, he stopped me and he said, Evan, you have to make sure that you ask. You got to make sure you're asked for help here. You give a lot. It's great. Don't stop giving. And I witnessed it the past, week with my students, you gave and gave and gave and gave and gave and gave, and that's great. And here you can give too. You're going to do that naturally. You have to ask. You have to ask. You got to ask for help. You got to figure out, what do you want out of this? Who's here? There's some big name people. You know, Russell Brunson and Tom Bilyeu and Dean Graziosi and David Bach and Lewis Howes and Jay Shetty and Prince EA and Trent Shelton and lots of big people. A woman who just sold her business for $1 billion, and I'm already worried. I don't know if I can give enough value here. I'm hoping I can. What am I going to ask for? And I'm glad that he stopped me, because it made me do things that normally I wouldn't have done. One of the things that helped Brendan with his book was he had people like Larry King and others read sections of the book. So he said, you should have people here read sections of the book. And so the first thing I did was I asked Brendan, hey, will you be my first read? And he said, yes. And let's show the clip. This is what Brendan did for the read of my book.
Listen, humans are built to serve. Some people are built to serve the world. Others want to serve the 25 people closest to them. But in either case, humans are built to serve. So if you're not happy right now, it's because you're not serving enough. You got to pick up this book because it's so inspiring to remind you that we're all here to contribute, to make a difference, to make an impact, and this is your field guide for that.
So then I started asking people if they would take a picture with me in the book. And some of these people I knew for a while, and some of them this was the first time that I was meeting them, right? It's at the end of the 3-day event, but I still felt hesitant and nervous. Now, everybody said yes, and I'm super grateful that they did. And I was talking to my friend, Mark Drager, who was saying, well, of course, people are always going to say yes, right? Of course, if you reach out and they know you and you've helped them, of course they're going to say yes. But I also asked people for things when they said no to. I asked some people for their book funnel emails, for their sequences, right, on the back end of what emails you send on what day, and they wouldn't give it to me. They said no. And it's fighting that pain, like, oh, did I go too far? Am I imposing too much? Because it's easy to tell yourself, of course they're going to say yes. People want to help. People want to see you succeed. And it's true for the most part. But there will be some people who say no. Who say nope. Who don't want to help you. Who ignore your message. And that's okay. I don't think it's telling yourself that everybody's going to say yes. And I think it's understanding that some people will say no. And you still have to get up and do the thing. And so this is something I still continue to fight, and every day I try to get a little bit better at it and try to catch it a little bit more. I think that's the best that you can do. If you think to yourself, what's one person that I can ask something from today that's a little outside my comfort zone? It's not unfair, right? It's not just asking. It's not unfair. They may say no, they may ignore you. It's not unfair though. It makes you uncomfortable, but it's not unfair. And you're gonna go off and ask and see what happens. So I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, question of the day, I wanna know, what's the one ask you're gonna make that is not unfair, but is uncomfortable for you? Let me know, put that down in the comments below. And if you're still here watching and you promise to take action after watching this video, we don't just watch videos, we do something here, Believe Nation. Give me a hashtag Believe down in the comments below so I can celebrate you.
Work together as a team, and enables us not only to survive a situation like that, but actually dominate.
The first law of combat that we talk about is called cover and move, which means if Leif and I are going to assault a target, over there, I'll get in a good firing position, I'll engage the enemy and keep their heads down where they can't shoot back. And while I'm doing that, Leif will get up and maneuver to a better position. Cover and move essentially is teamwork, working together in full support of the other parts of the team. Some of the things that can make teamwork fall apart, number one, those individual elements can get fixated, target fixation inside their own world. If I'm here trying to engage the enemy and all of a sudden I get so focused on that I forget about Leif and I forget about what he's doing, all of a sudden I'm no help to him anymore. Sometimes it can come with ego, where I want to outperform Leif, even though we're on the same team. I want to outperform him with my element. Maybe I do some things that actually sabotage him. I know that sounds crazy, but it happens. It definitely happens. It happens in the SEAL team sometimes, and it definitely happens in the corporate world, and we've seen that.
If you want to know what Kevin O'Leary says all great entrepreneurs must do, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Great entrepreneurs know their weaknesses and surround themselves with solutions.